Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here, and you are very welcome, my friends. No matter how many Captain Marvel videos everybody makes, she is the future of the MCU. Like it or not, it's not changing, it's happening. Now, what the big tragedy here is, of course, despite Carol Danvers being a really boring, uninspiring character in the comics, Kevin Feige and the MCU had a massive opportunity to make her a really epic, awesome character. She's so powerful, she's got all the tools, and her backstory is so awesome as well. They could have done something so amazing. And then when you look at the elements of Monica Rambeau as well, which is a fabulous character as well. In fact, in the comics, she's a more interesting character than Carol Danvers herself. So really, even though it's mystifying why they chose this female character to lead the future of the MCU and not one of the others, it is mystifying. They had an opportunity to right the wrongs of the comics. But instead, you've got Captain Marvel, live action Captain Marvel, standing there with a blank, boring expression on her face, delivering unpassionate dialogue by an actor who has triggered so many people. We're not just talking about men here, we're talking about nearly everyone. So the whole thing is an absolute mess. And if you're a DCEU fan like me, you're thinking, yes, Captain Marvel is the future. Keep it going, Kev, keep it going. And we're just going to have Shazam out, which everyone loves, by the way, whoever's seen it. This is brilliant. Get the popcorn. Let's see the MCU disintegrate. Because here's the thing as well. After Endgame, where's the excitement? Tell me where the excitement is. The only excitement really is that they're getting the X-Men and Fantastic Four. So they could do something really new and exciting with that. I accept that. But in terms of for now, with Spider-Man Far From Home and their future movies, where's the interest? Where's the excitement? Because once Endgame is over, it's like popping a balloon. That's it. Everything's underwhelming. Nothing's exciting anymore. You're literally going to have to wait for the X-Men thing to see what they're going to do with that and the Fantastic Four. But it's obvious they needed kind of a new Avengers team because obviously Robert Downey Jr. isn't getting any younger. He actually wants to make movies that challenge him, that could win him an Oscar. He should have won an Oscar for Chaplin. He never did. That is the best film he ever made. Fact. He's been strolling as Iron Man for all these years. That's not a challenge to him. This is one of the great actors of my generation. And I understand that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios saved his career because literally he'd been in prison for drugs, right? But I think he should have left earlier. But that's another conversation in point. I think he will want to leave or take a lesser role. It's going to be very interesting what happens with him. I still think they won't get rid of him totally, but I think they will lessen his role in the actual franchise. But going back to Captain Marvel, the problems that they have now, and people keep referring to me, oh, but the box office, the box office, the box office. We all know why. And I'm going to be boring again and tell you what I told you a billion times. This film was the precursor to the most anticipated CBM ever. Of course it's going to make money. The MCU is the most successful IP ever. Of course people are going to watch it. Out of intrigue, this film has made money despite Captain Marvel, despite Carol Danvers, despite Brie Larson and her comments. That's why she was allowed to make those comments and get away with it. Because it didn't matter what she said. In fact, Disney and Marvel Studios may have done that purposely because, ignore the phone, they probably did that purposely because they were worried that people might have seen her as a boring, uninteresting character, and getting some controversy involved may have given the project some intensity and some interest. So maybe all this was done on purpose because there's one thing for sure, Brie Larson's comments don't really... She didn't get up one morning and say, right, I'm going to go to press conferences and really stir the shit. It's clear that Disney and Marvel Studios wanted her to do it. Probably more Disney than Marvel Studios. Kevin Feige's probably been having kittens ever since. Because when you create something as beautiful as the MCU and as successful, and you see people kind of, you see the hatred, because yeah, the money's there, but the hatred and the poison that's going on towards this woman, towards this film. And really, this film isn't even interesting enough to have any controversy to it. And I think this is why they got Larson to say what she said. And I'm only just falling in now. Everything is spin for Disney, right? So they announce James Gunn's coming back for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Spin to try and get rid of the hatred. But what's happened with that is created another poisonous atmosphere, because some people still think that what James Gunn did is so despicable and disgusting that he shouldn't have another chance. Of course, Warner Brothers, gave him a chance with Suicide Squad, and he has to do that before he can do Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's going to be very interesting what happens with both of these films. Which one's the better movie? I think Suicide Squad is something fresh and new that James can get his teeth into. I mean, by the way, how do I feel about his comments? Listen, for me, when I read those jokes, look, I know people like Ricky Gervais say you should be able to joke about anything, and I understand that. If you're a comedian and you believe everything's open season, that's up to you. I can't tell you what to do. But I do think, seeing that James Gunn isn't actually a stand-up comic, it's interesting. Then we saw the kind of parties he goes to with some very, very interesting Hollywood figures as well. It wasn't exactly great. But because I'm not, look, I've got all the Marvel movies, I love them, I do, but I'm a DCEU man, right? So when obviously when Warner Brothers gave him the chance, for me, this is my attitude. I didn't give a fuck about the jokes he said, because quite frankly, James Gunn is a genius, and I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and I thought, oh yes, Disney's loss is our gain. For me, it was like getting one over on Disney and the MCU. It was a little bit disappointed that they've taken him back. But we'll see what happens. But it looks like James Gunn will do the Suicide Squad movie. Peter Safran's been talking about it, so I've got no concerns there. But going back about, when we're talking in context about the future of the MCU, and that being Captain Marvel, it's interesting to see who else is the future of this franchise. If they're going to bring a lot of new Avengers in, or maybe they'll put some of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four as part of the team, I don't know what they're going to do. Only they know what they can do. But there's certainly been kind of a lot of backtracking to what they did in terms of Brie Larson's comments, the way they did Captain Marvel, how she did come across as very bland and uninteresting. And the truth is, that's how she is in the comics, really. The other characters in Captain Marvel's universe are actually more interesting than Carol Danvers herself. And I think this is the problem here. Now, when I keep on seeing people saying, Goose the cat was amazing, so entertaining, great. I love that cat as well. But when a cat outstages your lead, you've got a big problem. You've got a massive problem, and you can't spin that problem. They had, as I said on the top of the show, they had an opportunity to create something special, like WB and DC did with Wonder Woman. That film was fucking beautiful. That film was a fucking sonnet. And I'm sorry I'm being a biased DCEU fan talking about Marvel and everything, but it's true. It promoted love and acceptance, and it was awesome. It was everything. And, young girls were inspired by it. Young boys were inspired by it. Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot will showing photos of both little boys and little girls in Diana's Wonder Woman costume. It was beautiful. We haven't had this with this film. We have poison. I don't have any political agenda against this film. I don't. I couldn't give a crap about all that nonsense and what she said about men. As a man, obviously, you hear her say, and you kind of, it doesn't make you grit your teeth and have fangs, but at the end of the day, you can't take everything that people say seriously. This was obviously a ploy to get some attention to the movie, and it worked. And because of her comments, everyone heard about the movie. I believe if it wasn't for the controversy, half the audience wouldn't have gone. So actually, if you think about it, they actually did this on purpose, and it helped make the film money. It didn't lose any money, did it? So you look at it now, but I think that Disney kind of realised how much hatred would have been aimed towards them, Brie Larson and Marvel Studios. No, I don't. I think they were shocked at the reaction. I think they were really shocked because what they did, they gave right-wing YouTubers an excuse to go for this film and pull other people into the hatred as well. You know, even people like me, who are definitely on the left side, not far left, by the way, but in the left side of the political argument, I was starting siding with some of these right-wing YouTubers, because you think about what she was saying, and it was poisonous. Things like, oh, I don't care what white male critics aged 40 and above care about A Wrinkle in Time. It's not for them. Now, if you break that up, basically, she's doing what people like her are fighting against, which is saying certain people haven't got a right to be involved in certain things. It's what her gender have had to put up with for generations and centuries since the caveman. Caveman was hitting his wife over their head with a club. And she's shooting that kind of hatred and agenda back at us. But I don't think any of them, and I think Brie Larson is included in this. Now, when I look at Brie Larson, I look at a kind of female that doesn't really kind of stink of feminism. It shows me someone who's very attractive. She likes to look good. She's got beautiful blonde hair. She just looks like someone you might see down in Essex, with not much going on down there. And it's, to me, the stuff she said was definitely motivated by the studio rather than her. But ultimately, it hasn't hurt this film. But people are going to continue to hate on this woman and on this character. And it will be a poisonous thread that will never end. But there's one thing for sure. Whether you love Brie Larson or not, whether you love Captain Marvel or not, whether you love Carol Danvers or not, she isn't going anywhere. Brie Larson isn't going anywhere. They're just going to try and spin it and get out of the hole they dug for themselves.